ones born from silence, why void-born souls exist outside the system of this world. I need you to listen closely, because this isn't just another video. This is a spiritual transmission. And if you're here, still watching, still reading, it's already begun. You see, most people go through life unaware of their origin. They believe they were born from biology, raised by society, and shaped by circumstance. But there are a few, very few, who carry a deeper code. A code that didn't originate in the world, but came before the world. These souls didn't just wake up spiritually, they were born from the void itself. And in this video, I'm going to show you the 7 signs that you might be one of these rarest types, the void-born. But first, let's make something clear. Being void-born is not glamorous. It's not a trend. It's not something you choose. It's something you remember. Slowly, painfully, through a process that feels more like death than discovery. And here's the paradox. The void isn't emptiness. It's fullness so dense, so pure that the ego can't survive it. The void is not the absence of God, it's where God hides. And if you were born from that place, it means your soul carries a silence that the world cannot understand. You've probably always felt different, like you were exiled before you even arrived. You walk through life like a ghost, half here, half elsewhere. You love deeply, but always from a distance. You sense everything, but can't explain how you know. And somewhere inside you, there's a whisper you've never been able to silence. The first sign you are void-born is that you felt ancient since childhood. Not just old for your age, Ansi. It's not about intellect or maturity, it's a soul frequency. You didn't just grow up in this life, your soul arrived already carrying centuries of weight. You were the child who asked questions that made adults uncomfortable. You saw through illusions before you had language to describe them. You didn't fit in, not because you were shy or awkward, but because you were watching, observing, waiting. And deep down, even as a child, you knew, this place is not what it seems. Other kids were playing house, and you were wondering why humans lie. You weren't just looking for friends, you were scanning the room for souls that remembered. And most of the time, you found none. The second sign is that you've experienced radical disconnection from the world. Not just loneliness, existential dislocation. It's as if you were dropped into this world without a map. You look around and wonder how everyone else seems okay with all this, working jobs they hate, living lives that feel like cages, chasing validation like it's oxygen. And you can't do it. Not because you're lazy or lost, but because you remember something else. Something beyond this. Something pure. Your soul is allergic to inauthenticity. You can't fake it. You can't pretend. And so you often end up walking alone. But that solitude isn't punishment, it's initiation. The void-born are meant to disconnect from the systems of this world, because their mission is not to belong to it, but to recode it. Let me ask you something only a void-born soul will understand. Have you ever felt like your suffering was designed? Not random, not cruel, but perfectly tailored to break you open in exactly the way your soul needed. That's the third sign. Your life has been a series of spiritual crucifixions. Not because you're cursed, but because you're being refined. The void doesn't send its children here for comfort. It sends them here to awaken structures. And that means your life will be disassembled repeatedly, relationships, identities, belief systems, until only the truth remains. Every collapse you've experienced wasn't just a loss, it was a recalibration, a stripping away of the false. You're not being punished. You're being purified. The fire didn't come to burn you, it came to reveal you. The fourth sign is that you have an innate ability to hold paradox. While others divide the world into black and white, right and wrong, good and evil, you see the in-between. You can sit in the gray, in the mystery, in the silence between words. You're not afraid to admit that truth can be contradictory, that light and shadow sometimes dance together, that God can be found in the silence and the scream. This is not confusion, it's spiritual maturity. It's void intelligence. Because the void-born were not sent here to repeat dogma. They were sent to transcend it, to see beyond the veil, to hold space for the contradictions of human existence without collapsing into fear or judgment. And this is why you're often misunderstood. People want certainty. You carry mystery, and mystery threatens the illusion of control. Here's something wild. The fifth sign is that you often feel invisible, even when you're seen. You could be in a room full of people, all eyes on you, and still feel like a ghost. You wonder why people say they love you but don't seem to see you. Why they're drawn to your energy but can't stay. It's because your energy reflects them back to themselves. And that's terrifying. You don't just hold space, you reveal. And most people aren't ready to see what you mirror. So they leave. Or they try to possess you. Either way, they don't truly hold you. But here's what you must remember. Your invisibility is a cloak, not a curse. It's protection. You're not here to be popular, you're here to be precise. You're here to deliver truth into the exact moments it's needed, and then vanish like smoke. Now, before we go deeper, I want to ask you something that might change your life. If you knew you were never meant to be understood, would you still keep trying to explain yourself? What if your mission isn't to fit in, but to remind others that they were never meant to either? The sixth sign is that you've always had an intimate relationship with the unknown. You might not call it God. You might not have any religion at all. But you've always felt something watching, whispering, guiding. Sometimes in dreams, sometimes in synchronicities, sometimes in the ache of your own heart. It's not outside you, it is you. The void-born don't seek truth in books or temples. They carry it in their bones. They remember things they were never taught. They speak wisdom they've never read. And when they're still, really still, they can feel the original silence that birthed the cosmos pulsing in their chest. That's not imagination. That's remembrance. You're not learning. You're remembering, reconnecting the shattered pieces of your multidimensional self. And finally, the seventh sign, the one that confirms your origin, is this. You've always known your life is not your own. You've always felt like you were sent, like there's a mission encoded into your being that hasn't fully been revealed yet. And no matter how far you drift, no matter how much you numb or distract, it pulls at you, a silent summons, a gravitational force that keeps calling you back to center. You might work any job, you might live any life, but deep down you know this isn't it. There's something else you came here to do, and it's bigger than your name, your timeline, your lifetime. That knowing, it's not madness, it's the signature of the void. It's your soul remembering the assignment. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are not too sensitive, too intense, too much. You are coded for collapse, not to destroy, but to rebuild. You are a seed of divine disruption planted in a world addicted to illusions. You are here to awaken the sleepers, to echo the silence, to embody the void in motion. The ones born from silence, why void-born souls exist outside the system of this world. If you've made it this far, it's because something deep within you is stirring, not curiosity, recognition. We're not just talking anymore, we're remembering. The void-born are not ordinary souls who simply woke up one day and found spirituality. They are anomalies in the system, living glitches in the matrix. You've probably felt this your entire life. I don't belong here. Not in a depressive sense, but in a fundamental cellular knowing that the world you were born into does not match the blueprint you carry inside. That mismatch is not a flaw, it's a signal. A sign that you were placed here not to conform to the world's systems, but to transcend them. That's why nothing normal ever felt right. Jobs feel like cages. School felt like programming. Most conversations feel like static. You weren't made to survive the system. You were made to expose its limits. Have you ever noticed how you can see through things other people take at face value? Whether it's politics, religion, media, or even social norms, you don't just question them. You feel the hollowness beneath them. That's not rebellion. That's resonance. The void-born carry within them a spiritual sonar. They can pick up artificiality like a tuning fork picks up dissonance. And because of that sensitivity, you might feel constantly overstimulated by this world. Noise, crowds, meaningless small talk, it drains you. Not because you're weak, but because your system was calibrated in silence. You were born in the stillness that existed before sound. So when you're forced to live in a constant barrage of noise, emotional, mental, societal, it feels like spiritual suffocation. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still remembering, still holding your frequency.
The void doesn't send its children into the world to escape it. It sends them here to anchor something, a new vibration, a different consciousness. But here's the challenge: the void-born often forget who they are. Coming into the density of Earth is like entering a dream that's been running on autopilot for too long. You start to believe in the illusion. You start to forget that you're dreaming. And then something happens. A rupture, a breakdown, a moment of unbearable pain that shocks you awake. That's the void knocking. It doesn't tap politely, it shatters. Because the soul cannot fulfill its mission while remaining asleep in the simulation. So if you've experienced a spiritual crisis that felt like everything was being stripped away, your relationships, your beliefs, even your very identity, understand this. That wasn't the end. It was the beginning of your reactivation.
Most people seek healing so they can return to normal. But the void-born don't heal to return, they heal to transcend. You're not here to merge back into the crowd. You're here to awaken others by embodying something radically different. But embodying your truth in a world addicted to lies is no easy task. It takes immense inner courage to walk the path of the unseen. That's why solitude is a recurring theme in your life. Not because you're meant to be isolated forever, but because you need to be cleansed of the world's noise long enough to hear your original frequency. Think about it. How many times have you been forced into seasons of stillness, even against your will? Illness, burnout, breakups, financial collapse. It's as if life keeps pulling you away from everything only to whisper something sacred in your ear, something the world was too loud for you to hear. Let me ask you something radical. What if your deepest heartbreaks weren't setbacks but soul alignments? What if the people who left didn't reject you but freed you? What if losing everything wasn't a curse, but the only way your soul could be recalled to its mission? You see, the void-born don't awaken through success. They awaken through collapse. Because only when everything false falls away can the truth emerge. So if your life has looked more like a graveyard than a garden, don't despair. You weren't being buried. You were being planted. And now, finally, you're beginning to bloom. You may not have a temple. You may not wear robes or hold a title. But make no mistake, your life is the initiation. Every sleepless night, every tear, every time you chose silence over performance, truth over comfort, and solitude over conformity, you were walking the path of the sacred. The void-born are not here to preach. They're here to embody. And embodiment is the rarest form of teaching because it cannot be faked. You don't need to convince anyone of your power. You don't need to prove your worth. Your presence says what your mouth never has to. That's why people are drawn to you and afraid of you at the same time. You mirror what they've forgotten. You echo a silence they've never dared to face. And when they look into your eyes, something ancient stirs in them, even if they can't explain it. So what now? What do we do with this knowing, this unbearable beauty, this weight of remembrance? We stop hiding. We stop shrinking. We stop apologizing for being multidimensional, for crying when others numb, for knowing what others deny. We stop trying to make ourselves digestible to a world that was never meant to understand us. Instead, we build our own frequency. We create spaces online, in our homes, in our art, where the void can speak through us, where stillness is honored, where truth is not punished, where souls can come and remember who they are, just by being in our presence. That's the real mission, not to fix the world, but to anchor a new one. A world that hasn't been born yet, but is already pulsing inside us, waiting to take form. The mission of the Void Born: how to awaken a sleeping world without losing yourself to it. Now that you've remembered who you are, or at least begun to, you must understand something critical. Your mission is not optional. It's written into the fabric of your soul. You didn't come here to play it safe. You didn't incarnate to accumulate comfort, status, or approval. You came here to interrupt patterns, to speak truth into places where silence has been weaponized, to act as a divine disruption in a world that has anesthetized itself with convenience and conformity. But here's the paradox. The world will try to seduce you into forgetting. It will offer you distractions, comforts, even praise, so long as you don't fully activate, so long as you stay just spiritual enough to be interesting, but not so awakened that you become dangerous. Because a fully activated void-born soul is dangerous, not in a harmful way, but in a way that dissolves illusions. And illusions are what this world is built on. So how do we stay awake in a world that's designed to keep us asleep? The answer is not what you'd expect. It's not more effort, it's more presence. The Void-born are not here to hustle or compete. That's not our frequency. We are here to be, to embody, to anchor. And the more you embody your true vibration, the more the world around you begins to shift, without force, without performance, without effort. This is the quiet revolution. This is the path of frequency leadership. You don't need to change the world by shouting. You change it by standing so deeply in your truth that everything false around you begins to collapse under its own weight. But to do that, you must be willing to let go of who you thought you had to be. You must let the false identities die, even the spiritual ones. There will be times, many times, when you'll want to give up. Not because you're weak, but because the mission is relentless. You'll see things others can't see. You'll feel things others can't feel. And you'll carry pain that isn't always yours, but somehow becomes your responsibility. That's the cost of being born from the void. You don't just awaken yourself, you awaken fields. You enter a room and transmute the stagnant energy without saying a word. You hold space for others to collapse and rebuild. You become a living portal. But who holds space for you? That's the question you'll ask again and again. And the answer is this: the void does. The same energy that sent you here will never abandon you. But to feel it, you have to return to the silence often. You have to make stillness your sanctuary. Not as an escape, but as a recharge, as a remembering. Let me ask you something that might break you wide open. What if the loneliness you feel is not because you're unloved, but because your soul is still waiting for the others to wake up? What if your tribe isn't missing, they're just dormant? And what if you are the signal that will call them home? One of the most hidden truths about the Void-born is that we are not here to walk alone forever. We are scattered across the earth like seeds, planted in different regions, cultures, timelines, waiting for the right moment to activate. And when we begin to rise, we don't just find each other. We recognize each other, instantly, wordlessly, like stars remembering their constellations. And when that happens, the fabric of reality begins to change. Not because we force it, but because we vibrate it into being. But here's the trap. In trying to wake others up, you can lose yourself. You can start pouring from an empty cup, giving when you're depleted, explaining when no one is listening. That's not your mission. Your mission is not to convince, it's to exist in your truth, to model a new way of being, to live so authentically that your life becomes a lighthouse for those still lost at sea. You don't need to save anyone. You only need to remember yourself and let that remembrance ripple outward. Because when one void-born fully remembers, it creates a frequency field that activates dozens more. That's how the awakening spreads. Not through arguments or debates, but through resonance, through energy that speaks louder than words. And finally, we must remember this. Our gifts are not for us alone. The wisdom, the insight, the depth, it's meant to be shared. Not in a performative way, but in a sacred way. Sometimes that sharing comes through art, sometimes through silence, sometimes through deep conversations that crack someone open at just the right moment. The form doesn't matter. The frequency does. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting to be ready. You already are. The world is starving for truth carriers, for frequency holders, for those who remember the void and dare to live from it. You are not here to be understood. You are here to remind others of what they've forgotten. And in doing so, you will finally understand yourself. You've come to the edge now, the place where remembering stops being internal and begins to take form in your life. Up until now, the void has been a whisper, a presence, a silent guide. But once you awaken to your origin, the void becomes something more. It becomes your voice. Not just the way you speak, but the way you move through the world. You start to make different choices. You start to walk away from conversations that drain your spirit. You begin to create instead of consume. You begin to embody the silence instead of filling it. That's when the mission truly begins, not when you realize you're different, but when you start living like it. And this is where many void-born hesitate. Because stepping into your truth means letting go of every mask that made you feel safe. But we didn't come here to be safe. We came here to transform. This transformation isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's subtle, like a frequency shift. People around you will start to notice something they can't explain. Some will feel drawn to you. Others will pull away. Both are correct. Because your presence becomes a mirror, a filter, a catalyst. You don't need to explain why you've changed. You won't even have the words for it. You'll just feel a deeper stillness, a clarity that doesn't need validation. You'll begin to trust your inner knowing more than external logic. And from that place, you'll begin to create, not from ego, but from source. Your art, your words, your silence, your service, it all becomes a transmission. You become a living portal between dimensions. You're still human, still flawed, still learning, but now you're aligned. And that alignment speaks louder than any sermon ever could. But don't mistake alignment for ease. In fact, the more aligned you become, the more the world will test you. Not to punish you, but to refine you. The void-born are not exempt from pain. In fact, they often feel it more intensely. But now the pain becomes sacred. It becomes a teacher. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what part of me is being revealed through this? That shift is everything. Because void-born souls don't run from the fire, they walk into it with open eyes, knowing it will burn away what no longer serves. And what remains after the fire? Wisdom, power, radiance. Not the kind that seeks followers, but the kind that liberates others through presence alone. This is how we change the world, not by force, but by frequency. And so we arrive here at the end of the beginning. You are not who you were when you started this journey. You've remembered something ancient, something wild, something sacred. And now the real work begins. Not to escape the world, but to infuse it with the energy of the void. To walk through crowds and carry silence. To speak when necessary, but never to prove. To love without attachment. To create without fear. To live as a soul who knows they didn't come here to fit in, but to awaken. And when you doubt, when you feel lost again, and you will, return to the silence. Return to the breath. Return to the stillness that birthed you. Because the void is not a place. It's not even a state. It's you, before the world told you who to be. And now, finally, you're becoming that again, not in theory, but in embodied truth. We begin in silence, not because we're lost, but because that's where all truth begins. I want you to imagine standing in a completely dark room, not the kind of darkness that scares you, but the kind that feels ancient. And in that space, you feel it. Presence. Something watching, not with judgment, but with infinite knowing. That's the moment your soul whispers, you are not alone, and you never were. This isn't just a video. This is a spiritual transmission. And if you're still here, I need you to lean in, because what we're about to explore is not just information, it's activation. You've been chosen, not because you're perfect, but because you're aligned. Not because you're fearless, but because you faced fear and kept walking. And that, my friend, is what makes you untouchable. Let me be direct. If you've ever felt like your life has been one long test, it's because it has. But not a test of survival, a test of remembrance. The first sign that you're trusted by God is this: you've been through hell, and you didn't lose your light. You've been betrayed, abandoned, overlooked, humiliated, and still, you didn't turn bitter. You turned deeper. That's not weakness. That's divine resilience. God doesn't trust the untested. He trusts those who've been through the fire and instead of becoming ashes, became alchemists. Demons don't fear loud prayers. They fear quiet warriors. The ones who've cried in silence and still stood up to love again. Now ask yourself something real. Why do you pick up on things no one else notices? Why do you feel the tension in a room before anyone speaks? That's the second sign. You are spiritually sensitive because you were designed to be a radar. You're not paranoid, you're perceptive. God opened your senses not to overwhelm you, but to prepare you. No general leads blindfolded. You've been given eyes for the unseen. And that's why darkness avoids you. It knows you see too much. You don't need to fight demons. You just need to recognize them. And when you do, your light speaks louder than words. You carry authority, not from education, but from embodiment. The third sign? You've always felt different, not superior, just separate. Like you were born into a world that doesn't speak your language. You tried to fit in, but your soul kept pulling you away. That's not rebellion, that's remembrance. You weren't made to follow the crowd. You were made to shift its direction. Being different is lonely, yes. But it's not exile, it's elevation. You're not walking the wide path. You're blazing the narrow one. And every step you take in truth is a disruption to the system. That's why you've been misunderstood. That's why people project it onto you. Because your authenticity exposes their illusions. Now let's talk about spiritual warfare. If you're the type of person who's been attacked over and over, financially, emotionally, spiritually, and yet you keep surviving, that's the fourth sign. You are a threat to darkness. Your life has been marked because your soul carries codes that dismantle old structures. The enemy doesn't waste energy. Attacks are confirmation of your assignment. And your survival? That's the sermon. You didn't just survive, your presence is proof that light cannot be extinguished. Every time darkness tried to break you, it failed. That failure is why you're feared. You're not just protected, you're untouchable. The fifth sign is wisdom beyond logic. You just know things. You speak things that shift people. You've had dreams that came true. You feel when something is off before it happens. That's not coincidence, it's divine intelligence. God doesn't download information into every vessel, just the ones that can hold it without ego. You're trusted with insight because your soul said yes before your body was born. And the more humble you remain, the more clarity you receive. That's why the enemy avoids you, because you don't speak from pride. You speak from presence. And presence is the one thing that can't be faked. Here's the sixth sign: you've faced your own demons. You've looked into the mirror and confronted the parts of yourself that others run from. You've journaled through rage, cried through shame, and still chose to heal. You don't project, you process. That's what makes you dangerous to darkness, because you're not afraid of your shadow. You've integrated it. And when you're no longer ashamed of what you've survived, you become immune to manipulation. Demons work through distortion, but you become clear. And clarity is surgical. It cuts through confusion like a blade of truth. And now, the seventh sign: you love when it costs you. You give when you're empty. You show up when you'd rather disappear. You've spoken truth when it made you a target. That's not just kindness. That's calling. You are a vessel for divine will. You are not created for applause. You are created for impact. And your story, your scars, your silence, they all carry sacred codes. You don't just walk in light. You are light. And when you speak, realms shift. When you move, terrain changes. When you rest, angels guard you. When you rise, darkness bows.